Good evening. My name is Greg Narvasa, and this is for our speech final. Tonight I am joined with Pat, Jonathan, Ruben, Diana, and Virginia. And tonight I am going to be talking to you about how the modern version of sequential art known as the graphic novel can be a great tool for education, and the perception of how comic books are not for kids anymore. I want to start off with seeing if any of you know what a comic book is.
Yes.
And also, do you know what a graphic novel is?
Yes.
I've heard the term graphic novel thrown around, but I don't know, how does a graphic novel differ?
Okay. A comic book, which started off in the early 1900s, one of the first known comic books was called Yellow Kid. But essentially, comic books were supposed to be a collection of comic strips that were from newspapers, eventually just collected into a book format, stapled, and put on the newsstand for a thin dime. And at that time, popularity grew a lot, and there was a great demand for original material. Eventually, there was some material that was published in a book called Action Comics #1, which was the premiere of Superman, which was the launch of the superhero genre. And at that point, comic books became a very huge part of the culture. But also, a lot of people ended up seeing the comic books were for kids because it was just fantastic stories. Your question on what is a graphic novel? A graphic novel is pretty much a self-contained story that is sequential art, usually ends up having more mature themes other than just a superhero title. And in 1978, there was a graphic novel that was released called The Contract with God by Will Eisner, which is considered the first modern graphic novel. In 92, there was a man named Art Spiegelman who released a graphic novel named Mouse, A Survivor's Tale. Mouse is about a biographical story of Spiegelman's parents during the World War II Holocaust. And this book was nominated for several literary awards, as well in 1992 received a special Pulitzer Prize. This was one of those groundbreaking times where it was showing that a comic book can actually be shown as true literary work. Even well-known news agencies such as CBS had a segment during their early show presentation about how comic books are being taken quite seriously in those schools which are taking part of an experiment in which comic books are used as a teaching tool, which I believe is an excellent thing because visuals usually seem to have more of an impact on people, especially younger kids, because it's a lot easier for them to grasp, because in every country a sad face is a sad face, compared to having them people who might have problems in reading are still able to grasp the concept. And not just saying that it's a cop-out from not having to read, but it's an aid to help them into enjoying what they are reading. There's even a medical journal that was put out and saying how biomedical journals should actually be put in comic book form, because there are many people who read their medical journals, lots of doctors, and they remember something about some procedure, but it doesn't grasp. But if they were to say that since pictures are worth 1,000 words, that if the biomedical journal was actually broken down into how comic book form is with sequentials, that they would be able to actually grasp the concept. So even biomedical journal professional people in the medical field are actually seeing that comic books should be used as a form of grasping concepts and learning. For this part, I want to say how sequential art in its modern form of the graphic novel can be an excellent tool in education. Marjorie Satrapi, who released a book named Persepolis, actually has won many awards and has been in the New York Times bestsellers list. She's talking here about her childhood and growing up in Islamic rule. and in the 1980s. And she does it all in visual representation. And the fact that there's so many people who are actually able to grasp what she's trying to convey here with these visuals, especially since it's a culture that many people aren't accustomed with her visual representations of how come people are wearing the veils, and why is it that when the veils are not placed right, it's against the Islamic rule. And those little representations that she put visually are what is some of the things that made an impact in here. Also, a lot of graphic novels nowadays have been turned into major movies, such as Frank Miller's 300, which is a tale about the Spartans, and has won awards, and this past year when the movie was released had many positive reviews. Also, Frank Miller's Sin City was turned into a movie and won critical acclaim. Soon to be a book that has had long-standing critical acclaim, which won an award, and that same year won an award for being a graphic novel. They made a rule against it from being able to win graphic novels being able to win an award from that specific award. Well, Watchmen is now also going to become a major movie within the next few years. And I'd like to thank you all for coming out and listening to my speech today.